Welcome everyone to another first look. In this video, Neo Scavenger is going to be our topic. Neo Scavenger is a turn-based hexagonal survival game set in an apocalyptic wasteland. You wake up after a long cryogenic sleep with no idea who or where you are. During the quest of finding your identity, you will face tons of environmental dangers such as animals or other survivors, but also freezing cold and darkness. You must counter hunger, dehydration, fatigue, wounds, sickness and much more. When you first start a new game, you will be prompted to choose from various abilities and flaws. These abilities can be used in specific situations, such as the lockpicking ability to assemble lockpicks or the botany skill to more efficiently find and identify edible plant life. For this playthrough I'm going to go for melee, hacking, trapping, botany and lockpicking. You will notice that we have spent more ability points than we can afford, so we'll have to compensate this by adding a flaw. I'm going for metabolism as it seems to me to have the least drawback. Now we're all set to dive into the adventure. First up, we wake up from cryosleep with no idea who or where we are. Right away we are being approached by a dangerous animal and will have to make a decision. Depending on your chosen skill set, you will have multiple options. With our melee skill we could easily slay the animal and grab its pelt to craft something warm and fuzzy, but we are more than likely to take a serious wound from said battle, so I think we're going with a sneakier option and use botany to make ourselves uninteresting to the predator. Having dealt with this initial threat, we're having a look around the cryogenic facility and find the first clue to our identity, namely that our name is Philip Kindred and that we have a bank account somewhere in Detroit, should it still exist. Since nothing else is of interest to us in this facility, we make our way outside into the vast wilderness with the goal to survive and find Detroit. The world screen will be presented to us where we'll find a hexagonal world which we have to explore, a certain number of moves we can perform during one turn, statistics which indicate our condition, various buttons for crafting and inventory, as well as a palette of options on the top right side. The first tile you probably want to go for is the town nearby. A magnifying glass on a tile means that there's stuff to scavenge for. Having moved one tile, we now have the option to either cover our tracks, go into hiding or spy on nearby tiles, but we are going to scavenge as we have no clothing or food yet. Once in the scavenge menu, you can drag over available sites to search for, and depending on your inventory and your skill sets, you might have additional options. Decaying buildings can be dangerous and loud, so you will always have to be careful to not hurt yourself or get into trouble by attracting wildlife or worse. With our first search we were already pretty lucky, getting a few t-shirts and a bottle with some water, which we can store for later. Unfortunately we do not possess a bag or similar yet, so we'll be quite limited on what we can actually take with us. After scavenging all the buildings, it's time to decide what we take with us and what we leave here in order to proceed to the next location. We can always come back here and get stuff we've left behind. Clicking on the show main map icon or pressing tab, we can go back to the world view and you will notice a small chest icon on our tile, indicating that there's still stuff on the floor. Let's head out and find ourselves more buildings to scavenge for useful materials. As it happens, we have already encountered another person, which will open up the combat screen. We can see that this stranger has a backpack and clothes we so desperately need, but we can also see that he has the toughness ability and we do not currently have a weapon. We currently have a range of 27 towards the target, where melee range is around 1 or 2 range, I believe. Since we are this far away and in disadvantage weapon wise, we are going to try and retreat from battle, which may or may not work. This time it worked out fine, so we are trying to get away as fast as possible, using one of our moves to hide our tracks. But the survival world is not on our side right now, and in a new encounter we find ourselves. This time we cannot see the target yet, so we have the option to try and identify foe and location. We did not find whoever that was, but they seem to be hiding from us, so we can move on. I decide to use my last move to go on a hill for more tile visibility, and since moving on certain tiles costs you 2 movement points, I could save myself 1 move by spending the last move on that action. Every now and then you will be pulled into random encounters such as this car encounter, and you will again have several options. Now since we are not prepared for fights just yet, we keep a low profile. our time will come. This playthrough though, I'm pretty unlucky, running right into the next encounter and we cannot retreat this time. So we are facing our enemy. The aim is to find the balance between keeping your distance, trying to get your enemy to fall to the floor, try to kick and hit them while avoiding their attacks. Unfortunately, we did not manage to beat them to death and we have lost our first playthrough. The save game will be deleted and you will be forced to continue from scratch. So now that we know about the basics, it's time to learn about aspects of the game not discussed in this video yet. I have started another save game where I was a bit luckier, finding myself some pants, a hoodie and most importantly some small metal parts. It's time to have a look at the crafting menu by clicking the related button or pressing X on your keyboard. Right away you will be presented with everything in your inventory, your skills as well as the stuff which is still laying on the floor. By dragging over various components and combining them you can discover tons of recipes. In my case, since we have the lockpicking skill, we are able to craft small parts into a lockpick. Carrying this around with us will greatly increase the chance of finding some loot as well as making you able to break into locked buildings. Simply select a locked building and you will be able to choose the lockpicks as an option. Other tools you may find to help you scavenge include crowbars, lighters and skills such as trapping. All this made scavenging this tool shed a lot safer and more likely to be rewarding, and indeed we now possess a monkey wrench as a weapon. I have found myself our first container, a small plastic bag. Equipping this in a hand or on my backpack slot, I will be able to carry around more stuff. Every now and then you will also come across pieces of paper telling you about recipes you might not know yet. Now that we have a bag and some bottles, we should make sure that we get our hands on some liquids to clean our rags for bandages and boil water to sterilize and drink. This is best done in the forested terrain. Just scavenge in the forest and choose additional options such as botany to increase your yield. In forests you will find wood for campfires and for cooking, edible and poisonous berries and fungi and water. Another very useful item you can come across is a shopping cart or any other sledge. This thing will greatly increase your carrying capacity but also slow you down. As it happens, I have hurt myself during a scavenging trip and I am bleeding. This needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. If you have some alcohol, it's time to disinfect the wound and then bandage it up using some clean rags. I have happened to find clean rags somewhere, but as soon as I have a tin can or a pot to cook water in, I will be able to get clean rags much easier. Exploring the world more and more, you will find tons of different items, crafting recipes, clothes, food and miscellaneous stuff. But one item you want to have a look out for is the Roads and Routes map of Michigan. Using this item will reveal the location of Detroit on your map and you will be much clearer about your heading. Once you get your hands on some water, a tin can or a cooking pot, it's time to boil water for clean rags and drinkable water. Go to your crafting window and choose the woods to gather branches for a fire. Then combine your trapping skill or a lighter together with some paper or twigs to get a small fire going. Combining the small fire with yet another branch will result in a bigger fire. Cooking up water together with a can will give you sterilized water, while cooking the water with the addition of dirty rags will result in clean rags. All of this crafting will use up your movement points slowly. At this point I have touched on most of the features of this game, but there's much more to discover, such as random encounters and also Detroit and the whole storyline behind it. Now, since I don't want to spoil too much of the storyline, I'm going to let you discover, explore and lure Detroit by yourself. Still, I hope this video gave you a brief and good insight and impression of the game and will help you decide whether it's something for you or not. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, have a great day and see you in the next video. Bye bye.